Hi, so today I want to add a new video model to Workmander.
I'll review the model page and pull out what we can wire into Workmander.
So now I've just hit the mic button, and that is going to mute the mic because if I just keep talking, it'll keep listening. I can still see Codex's voice agent right here.
All four Gemini Omni Flash modes are in Workmander, and it's MCP with real inputs and the prepare then explicit submit flow. It's installed, verified, and no generation was sent. No push yet.
Great. So now if we look at our micro, we can see that our kind of Codex thread is done. I am a Codex noob. I have been working almost entirely in Claude Code for the last couple of months, but something changed, and that thing was the Codex Micro, plus people asking for Codex tutorials and hearing about Codex, just wanting to see what is Soul like, what's it like to work in Codex. Well, I spent the last 5 days, literally probably 10 to 12 hours a day, intermittently. Some of the tasks take a while. I'm not just sitting there the whole time, but really, really long sessions working with Codex and building my very first macOS native app for AI filmmaking. And I wanted to put the whole ecosystem to test as I hit my mic. Wanted to test the Codex Micro, working in Codex, building a macOS native app for AI filmmaking that basically wraps the Fall API. This is what I've been doing. I feel like a crazy person. I just need to get it off my chest and talk about what I've experienced so far. And hopefully that's interesting to somebody who's building something kind of similar. So this video is going to be in 2 parts. The first part, I'm going to demo how I actually develop with Codex and make a macOS app and show the Codex Micro, how it kind of works, talk about the new voice agent. It's a really interesting workflow, in my opinion. I really love it at this point. Hard to go back to Claude Code, but I do have a couple projects over there still. And then the second part, we're going to demo my app that I've made that's called Workmander. Fun name. It's basically my AI filmmaking engine. It's a wrapper around the Fall API, but it'll show how I think right now in 2026, and probably for quite a while in the future, this is sort of how I see the ideal way of doing agentic filmmaking. It's not a black box in a terminal that you type a prompt and something comes out the other end. You'll see it's this very kind of guided experience. And the cool part is that it's pretty complicated of what's happening. But when you, the human, are operating this, all you do is talk, and then it'll show you its process, and you can step in at any point with your voice or your mouse. You can hit escape, and it'll stop, and you can tell it to stop and make changes. But it's sort of this agentic plus guided experience that I think really brings together all of these technologies into a way that makes creating with AI feel rewarding and not like it's taking your agency. So hopefully that comes across, and let's get into it. So now I'm going to demonstrate how I develop with Codex to make my macOS app and how I use the Codex Micro with some tips I got from Work Louder talking with them on Instagram. So one of the first things they told me is that if you hold down the knob button, it'll bring up the Codex Micro options menu here. So that's really helpful. Next is this battery here, like pretty straightforward, right? Well, the Codex Micro has a USB cable in the back or port that's USB-C. And what doesn't work out is when you try to plug in the Codex Micro to like an AC adapter. That doesn't really work at all. I think you could probably heard it doing that. That should be a warning. And I tried to plug it in from like my iPhone charger to USB-C to charge it. And what I found is that it does charge it, but it won't allow it to connect wirelessly. So the ideal setup that you want to do is either use it completely wireless, don't plug it in at all, or plug it in only to like a Thunderbolt dock or directly to the computer. It's not meant to go into AC power. So that's important to know. So as we move down, these are the way that I have it set up. I'm not going to go over all the options, but personally what has been working for me is that I want the agent keys to only do pin chats because you can end up with a lot of sub agents. I don't want all of them. Next is the knob is for changing the scrolling up and down the chat. And what I have here by default is up is the browser when I'm doing web stuff. And then we have regular navigation, and sidebar is down. So pretty basic setup there. What I've landed on for this is that I'm just basically using this to change the reasoning level. So this will turn on fast mode, which costs more but is faster. Increase and decrease the reasoning of the mind here, smooth brain, wrinkly brain, and then pinning chats because my mechanic for the agent keys are the pin chats and I need to be able to pin them quickly. And then really important is the mic down here says start a voice chat. And what we've done is we've changed this from the default is push to talk to voice chat, which we'll demo very soon. That this is like the big change here. So we want to make those changes. And this one is send to Codex, which I honestly don't press almost ever now. So now we're in Codex, and this is the actual way that I work, and I'll show you by adding a new feature to the app right now. So the first thing we want to look at is using this new voice chat. We can start a new voice chat by clicking this button or by clicking on the microphone button on the Micro. And I want to show you on the left, we have two things right now. We have a voice chat, which if you look at it has a little waveform on it. And then we have a regular Codex agent, which is going to do the actual like programming or coding. And of course, with the Micro, we can switch between these two with our agent buttons. And they're both white right now because they're not doing anything. They're both done. But let me show you how this works, and we'll just do a demo right now. So now I want to add a new video model to be accessible to Workmander. Right now, we only have a couple, and I want to add Gemini Omni Flash. So I'm actually going to go to the Fall website, because this is a Fall-powered app. And all I'm going to do is copy and paste this URL. It's not even the endpoint. We could copy and paste the schema or the LLM, but the URL will be fine. It'll figure out on its own. And I'm going to go back to Codex. So now I'm not going to go into the Codex app and use the chat. I'm going to use the voice agent completely. And it's a combination of pasting and talking, and hopefully it goes well. Let's see here. Hi, so today I want to add a new video model to Workmander, and I'm going to copy and paste the endpoint from Fall into chat. And I want us to then implement this new model in its 4 different modes and expose that to the MCP. I'm pasting it right now.
Okay, I'll take a look. I'll review the model page and pull out what we can wire into Workmander. I've got the endpoint and I'm checking the official Gemini Omni mode schemas now, so we expose the 4 supported modes cleanly in Workmander and its MCP without guessing.
So now I've just hit the mic button, and that is going to mute the mic because if I just keep talking, it'll keep listening. Like right now I could jump in and tell it to stop.
I'm wiring
do
the
things.
4 verified modes now: text to video, image to video, reference to video, and video edit using the real Google Fall schemas, so inputs match the API and keep native audio intact.
Great. So as I was saying before, because they can't hear me, GPT can't hear me, I muted the mic with this button. And from this point on, that's basically all I'm doing is I'm maybe pasting in something for context and then muting and unmuting the mic. And I should have gone and checked the worker thread here. So we're on Sol Light, which that's unfortunate. That's not what I wanted to do. But again, we see that this chat is basically green. It's done. And now it's white. And this chat, which is the actual Codex chat working, it is blue. Now, honestly, I wish I had cranked this up to at least high, and I am using fast mode, which is great, but we'll hope that this is a simple enough thing to implement. I do think it is. There's not like a lot of architecture or like a lot of the architecting is done already. This is just like get the endpoint, implement it, but the minimum I usually work at is Sol High. So here's changing the different levels all the way up to Ultra, which would take a long time for anything. And I would again put it back to high, keep fast mode on because time is valuable. And another thing that you'll see is that even if I full screen this app, this is the app we're building, Workmander, I can still see Codex's voice agent right here.
All 4 Gemini Omni Flash modes are in Workmander and its MCP with real inputs and the prepared then explicit submit flow. It's installed, verified, and no generation was sent. No push yet.
Great. So now if we look at our Micro, we can see that our kind of Codex thread is done. It's done a Git commit for us, which will eventually push this to GitHub. And so that's the full workflow. And I know it kind of like interrupted me talking. That's because I have it on mute. So that shows how this works. That was sort of a hefty task, but not super, not much longer than it usually takes. But let's take a peek at Workmander now. And this is a little bit abstract, but this is basically just like a wrapper around Fall, except it's local. It's a macOS app, so it's very responsive. It can load up a lot of images at once, and it's organizing everything to my local computer, building my own little database, how I like to work. And again, I can work with whatever agent I want, Codex, Claude Code, etc. In this case, it's definitely going to be Codex. So here is the setup, and this is the point of Workmander as a macOS app working with an agent. So on the left, we have, of course, Codex. On the right, Workmander. And now what I really only want to ever do is talk to Codex. I just want to talk and it drive and submit everything through MCP to Workmander. And I'm not really doing a ton manually there that I don't want to. So let's see how this goes. I'm going to unmute and then I'm going to talk to Codex and have it run Workmander, hopefully. So what's cool is, again, I can focus on Workmander and then use the little agent down here that's always floating. And I'll do a full screen demo after this if everything goes well. Great, so let's test the new build. And I would like you to use the MCP. So spin up a new Codex agent that talks to Workmander through the MCP only, no code changes. And let's generate 4 logos using Nano Banana 2 that are just low resolution square. And I want 4 images of a fox, an anime fox in pixel style. So go ahead and make a canvas card for that and then progress to showing me the generate images and then wait a little bit and then send that generation and do the workflow so we can demo this.
Got it. I'll set that up now.
And now I've muted the mic. And what we should see on the left is Codex is making a new chat. That is a Codex chat that will only talk to Workmander through the MCP server that it's running, versus the Workmander Codex chat that could alter the source code of Workmander. That's not what we want, ultimately. We want to just interact with it agentically. So we have an agent that can that can like communicate with Workmander. Then we have an agent that can actually change it. So you'll see that it made a little card, and now it's gone out and filled out the text prompt.
I've created the card and prepared the 4 square fox logo images, and I'm holding at the visible generate images state for a quick checkpoint before the single approved submit.
Very good. So even though I told it to submit it, it's waiting for me. It's like, are you sure you want to spend this money? So I'm going to unmute, and then it sent it for me. And so now it's switched to what I call the project activity page. And you heard a sound, hopefully, that there's a sound when it submits. I actually want it to be a louder sound. It did wait for me, but then it just executed it. And I keep talking, and hopefully you heard the chime.
The MCP only demo is complete. Card created, images view shown, brief pause, then 1 4 image batch submitted. Project activity is open. Okay,
so I keep talking over the agent because it's finishing and I'm trying to explain it at the same time, but hopefully you saw that. So that's what's happening behind the scenes. I talk to the voice agent. When I ask it to do things in Workmander, it's going to spin up a new Codex agent that only communicates to it through its MCP. And then it's going to execute all of Workmander tasks for me because that was what I wanted. So now I'm going to show this how I would typically do it, like this, just full screen my app, Workmander. And I usually full screen Codex on a different monitor. In this case, we won't see that. So we have our Codex agent here, and this is like the real power of how this works. We can go to my gallery, and we've made some pixel foxes, right? And they're okay. We didn't give it like a ton of direction. That's cool. So what I can do now is continue to iterate on this process, and I'll show you again using the Codex Micro in its kind of final form. This is how I'm typically working. Like I don't need to see Codex open at this point usually. Those came out really good. The workflow is perfect. Let's do another generation. Let's change it this time to be a corgi. So let's make a little anime 2D pixel corgi and make the pixel really big, the really chunky, blocky, low resolution pixel corgis that'll look good as an icon or something like that. So go ahead, make a canvas card, show me the generative images prompt, and then you can go ahead and automatically submit and do the regular workflow. And I'm just going to sit back and watch.
Perfect. Setting that up now. I'll run 1 4 image batch the same way. Card, visible images view, then submit.
Okay, just double checking my agent is muted here. So I can always I wish there was a color. It should show me visibly if it's muted or not. The card exists. We'll see that it is put in the prompt for me and it's filled out the parameters correctly. Hopefully it's going to submit too. Heard the sound, it's submitted.
The
And
generate images view is up with the chunky pixel corgi prompt, and the operator is submitting the approved batch now. Done. Check activity for the generation.
great, it's all moving very fast. This will finish really quickly. This just shows like the fluidity of I just talk to the agent, it runs the app, but the app is sort of the receipt and my interactive layer with my assets. And on top of that, of course, these are being saved to my computer already. They're named and these are versioned. I can be like 2.3. I like that one in the top right. Let's keep working on it. We can review from here, right? Say we like one of these logos. We can look at it in references here. And it's just this really great agentic experience where like mainly I'm just talking and it runs everything, but I get to watch it happen. I can stop it at any point. And especially when we get into video generation where things are a little bit more expensive, I don't let it auto send any of the video generations unless I like really don't care for some reason. Those are a little bit more expensive and I want to tweak the prompts myself. But what's being done in the background for me, these aren't my favorite cards yet, but every distinct action I make through Codex to Workmander through MCP, there's a receipt of it. The prompt has a visual. I see the images that are being generated. There's of course always this activity monitor that's happening linearly. And I say I loved this one. I can click reuse. It'll repopulate it and I want to tweak a couple things, send it off manually. So it's very much just like a basic like wrapper of how you would generate images and videos. For now, I have a couple workflows that'll be very, I think, unique soon. But the point is that it's local macOS app and it's being run completely agentically through the MCP. I really could run Workmander headless to some degree. But the point is not to run it headless and have it be a black box. When I work with an agent to create things, it needs to be constantly showing me things. And I need to kind of be learning and iterating at the same time. So hopefully this demo shows you the power, again, of Codex Voice is what I'm going to call it, and Workmander, or like an app that you would build that's local for your system. Just as a recap and looking at what this is, the voice chat, that talks to me, the human. My Codex chat, this is talking to Codex and redoing source code and adding new features. And then third, our Codex operator only talks to Workmander, but only through the MCP that we've set up. So it's a little complicated, it seems, but you've seen it in its final form. I don't even open Codex, or it's on the other monitor. I don't even look at it. All I'm doing is talking to the voice agent, and it's either making source code changes or we're actually making a project together in Workmander. So those are the demos, and now I just want to waffle on about, because I've been here programming this whole time, and I talked to a couple people at Fall, and I showed some other people this workflow. I just want to kind of talk about how I feel about this and where I think this is kind of going in the future. So I do think right now, as a content creator, a filmmaker, that it's hard for me to think about entering one of these creative processes without AI. Is that a crutch? I don't know. But the reason I feel like that is because I really offload the things about organizing a project to the LLM. I don't want to have to write the script down by hand. I tend to do that after anyway. I'll kind of edit it, but I like to just start a session and I'm just going to talk to the agent a really long ramble and it's going to be like, great. And it'll organize it. It'll write it all down. I don't see any huge value for me right now as typing it all down and burning my energy, typing it and reviewing it, typing it. I just want to get out this thing I have in my head. I just want to say it. I just want to say it out loud. And the LLMs, with their sycophantic, tendencies, they reinforce me being able to do that. I just want to talk it out, right? And then once I've gotten it out, I'm like, then we can review it. It'll show me. I'll be like, oh, this idea is better than that, right? So the LLMs are really good at that. And I have another script writing app that I'm writing as well. But that's how I like to start almost all these processes. And I don't want to just write it down. It's faster. I can get it out quicker and move on to cleaning it up after that. And so some other things that I like to offload to the AI is that I don't want to manage files. I don't care where the files are. I mean, I have the program put them into logical places like images. I don't want to rename them. It's going to rename them fine. It's going to keep references to them. I don't want to have to be like navigating through a file system ever as a human. I should never have to go through the folders and be like, where's that file and whatnot, right? The system should be human readable later, but I shouldn't be spending creative time managing files. That's completely gone. That is what Codex plus Workmander does for me, right? Completely manages all of that stuff. And then on top of that, I don't ever want to be manually writing prompts. I'll have it one shot it and then I'll edit them, or we'll keep iterating on it and I might get in there and type a couple of things or just talk about it. But I don't want to write prompts anymore. It doesn't make sense. And if you look at how, that's not going to happen in this video, but if you look at like the type of prompts I send to Cdance or I send to Flux or some of these new models, the prompts are huge. And we don't want to, I don't want to write that. That's just not something I should have to do anymore. I want to be able to direct it and iterate on it if it's wrong, but I don't want to be writing it. On top of that, there are some good things about knowing all the parameters of the different models. I think Cdance and certain image models, you should kind of know what those settings do. But on the whole, I just want to be like, give me the highest resolution 16:9 image you can get, and that's it. I don't want to be managing that stuff. And so with this process you've seen here, I just talk. I get to just get out all of my creative thoughts. It's going to manage it. It's going to queue all up all the prompts. It's going to give me the receipts for it. It'll show me that it's generating. I can see what it did and go back and be like, actually inspect the prompt if it came out good or came out bad. I was like, what's this? And I don't want to hand operate any of this stuff, but I do want to be able to dig through the receipts of it. I want to see the process happening. I want sounds to let me know what's happening. And the new layer on top of all of this that I really love is the Codex GPT Voice that is interactive. I don't know if I showed enough of the demo here. I could try to do more of it, but like you talk, it tells you what it's going to do. You can stop it in the middle of what it's saying because it'll be like, oh, great. So let's go ahead and do this. And if it's wrong, I'll be like, no, stop. Do this instead. And she'll be like, good catch. And so like that interactivity is great. And so I have all these pings and noises of like, we're about to spend money. I always want a sound for that. Or when the download is done, let me know. But there's the noises, but then also the agent usually will, if it doesn't disconnect, sometimes it disconnects. If the agent doesn't disconnect, it'll be like, your videos are done. Go check them out. And it'll do a review. It'll be like, I knew that you were looking for this type of thing. And it'll say like, these 3 are probably the best. And a lot of the times it's right because we're looking for sort of objective things. I'll be like, I want a cleaner background or like I want it easy to cut out or something like that. And there's just a lot with Codex specifically. Codex is really good at controlling your computer. So that was sort of like my rant based on creating, like making content, making images with it. And then as we go to the developer side of it, I mean, from the engineering point of view, I talked to a lot of engineers at this point who are just, we're all just kind of like, what is happening with this? But we just kind of accept it. Codex is incredibly good, especially at the super high levels, at building these apps, these features. And it's really good at testing. It'll do all these tests that I wouldn't do, like really, really interesting tests. And building giving it its own MCP server is just fascinating because, like I said, we have the thread to talk to the human, me. We have the Codex thread that's writing the source code. And then we have a Codex thread that's running and interacting with the app through the MCP, right? And then there's also me with my mouse interacting with the app. And then there's Codex that's also with its own mouse interacting with the app. So it's been a lot for me to take in. I hope this doesn't just sound like absolute insanity. It sounds insane to me, but it's been really eye-opening working with Codex. It's extremely strong, so strong that I went and got an OpenAI hat and hoodie. Very invested in the micro here. And from a developer perspective and from a creator perspective, using it kind of sidecar, having Codex drive the creative process while Workmander is kind of my harness around it, so to speak, my local macOS harness. It's an incredible experience. I feel very productive. Maybe I'm not, I don't know. It feels productive. It feels creative still. I still get to just give it like some creative ideas and work quickly. And the whole process has been really fun. Now, I will say I have another app that I'm making called Worksama, and that is being done in Claude Code at the absolute highest level. I use pretty much like Ultra Code and Ultra when I'm architecting these things. And it's a macOS app as well, but it's Electron. It's not native Swift like this app. They both are wrapping the Fall API, of course. That's how I give any of these agents or the apps themselves control to generate images, video, audio, sound, etc. But, to me, that's built in now. I mean, I work at Fall. I use the Fall API, CLI, MCP, like all the time. It's like, yeah, my agents can build now. We have that. The question is, how do you harness this? What do you build around it to make the process good, make the results good, make them human controllable, right? Because like the worst part of this is when you get bad results and you don't know why and you can't inspect. That needs to happen. And I have sort of done my time with building web apps. I've made a couple, you've maybe seen them on this channel with Fable 5. When I first came out, I made a web app version of this. I have the full artifact version where I just do it in Claude Code and it spits out HTML files that kind of become web apps. But I find that becomes convoluted, that the web surface is somewhat limited. And I also want an agent that can do things on my computer. And if you get into macOS development, you'll see that this is not something that like a web app's going to handle. It needs to be in your like certificates. It's doing keychain stuff, and it needs like full control over your computer to test apps as well. And the line between making apps, engineering, and making content is getting blurrier and blurrier. And if this video hasn't illustrated that, then I have not spoken my piece correctly then. Anyway, bit of a ranty video. Don't know how this is going to come across, but this is like my obsession right now. And, I'm really interested in connecting with other builders who are building like this. They're building with agents to build apps that work with agents, all in the pursuit of making better content and making processes in apps and things that make creating easier and more fun. And I feel like we're like really, really we're really close here. And I've had a lot of fun talking to GPT, having it operate my app for me and then get cool images and videos at the end of it. I mean, this is what computers are for. That wraps up for this video. I'll see you on the next one.